getting my car washed and getting everything ready to go out on the road and get back with life. Happy Valentine's Day. So an awful lot going on at the moment, but I want to look at things like Starmer, who I can't stand, the Prime Minister, and various other aspects of what's been going on in the world over the last week. It's been quite a strange past week, what with the Mandelson drama and the Prince Andrew drama and everything else. But one thing seems to be coming through very, very clearly, especially with Starmer, that people desert people at the drop of a hat. Mandelson, who is clearly close friends with Jeffrey Epstein, clearly had no sexual connection at all because he's not that way inclined, and yet he's absolutely prepared the moment that Epstein dies to drop him like a hot potato. People are seeming to regard this as good behaviour. I remember when Andrew, in his interview, that I suppose would be described as the notorious interview, said to the appalling Emily Maitlis that he stuck with Epstein because of loyalty, which seems to me like a very good reason. And when you see what Epstein was actually convicted of, okay, it was probably a plea bargain and all the rest, but he got a very minor slap on the hand for soliciting someone to become a minor, who was a minor, to become a prostitute. I mean, nothing to do with doing anything serious. I think he got 9 months or a year or something, most of which didn't have to be in prison. I mean, clearly something about on the level of doing 35 miles an hour and a 20 mile an hour speed limit. And yet everybody is now piling down on him and saying, oh God, this monster, and so on, like they did with Jimmy Savile and have done with everybody. And it does strike me that the world has gone mad. Humanity has swallowed the stupid pill. Lunch with my old friend Johnny Beerling, the best Radio 1 controller ever, and discussing such things as Starmer. But that's exactly the point. People seem to be leaving it in droves. His chief of staff's gone, his head of publicity's gone. One thing that really puzzles me is why hasn't Starmer, who as DPP brought in the police thing, you will be believed for all victims who approach the police. By victims, I mean people who say they were victims, even if they were lying, they had to be believed. I can't work out why somebody hasn't done this on Starmer yet. Whether true or a lie, they would make millions if they accused Starmer of something. Coming up in a week or so is the Brits. The Brits 2026. I remember when I ran the Brits and I saved it after the fiasco was the Mick Fleetwood, Sam Fox year when everything went wrong, and they begged me to take it over, and I brought it back. We got huge ratings, it worked very well, and I ran it for I think 3 years with great success. I was told I could have it for life for a small amount, £250,000 a year or something, which adds up quite nicely if it's a guarantee. And I actually declined because by then the record companies were interfering once more. But when I did it, it was a great success. We always did it on Valentine's Day or around Valentine's Day because people like to give people records or CDs or whatever for Valentine's Day. That seems to have been scrapped, mainly because there is no mass appeal anymore. So actually it would only apply to people who love Taylor Swift, giving their boyfriend or girlfriend a Taylor Swift CD because they also love Taylor Swift. But in the wilder mass market of those of us who never have heard a BTS song or anything else, it means nothing. So as a result, there's no cross appeal, mass appeal music anymore, which has sort of killed the music industry, and I'm afraid I was responsible, and I'll explain why. So what we get is stars, and I use the word in inverted commas, in Manchester that nobody has ever heard of. Way back when I realised that to get the hits I wanted to get with the records I thought would be hits, I had to really use my nous and make some marketing and promotion decisions, which in those days were called hype. And I used to push the records into the charts, which meant that they then got top of the pops, and they then exploded and went into the top 5 or the top 10 and sold literally in those days millions of copies at £1 or £2 a copy, of which I got sort of 75% by then, because I was running a label and I was sometimes singing it and written it and all the rest. So it was a very good thing to do. The problem was, of course, all the other record companies started to realise what I was doing, and they pushed their top priority records, a lot of which were crap, into the charts and up the charts. What I always did, because I couldn't afford to do anything else, was I only did it when I could see that the records had all the signs of being hits, because that would earn me the money back that I could invest again. But when the big major labels took over, they put all this rubbish into the charts, which again was on top of the pops. We started to lose viewers desperately, as indeed the Brits did and everything else. There was very little crossover mass appeal stars. We're talking about the 80s and the 90s here. Slowly music became less mass appeal and more specialist market. Top of the Pops, of course, declined and eventually got cancelled. All the records that became hits through by then downloads and then streaming with things like Spotify actually were not popular at all. I mean, anybody is prepared to listen to 10 or 20 seconds or something, and when you get a million of those, even if people then turn it off because they don't like it, and the record earns almost nothing, but it sort of goes into the bottom of the charts, and that's the way things go. So that's why, sadly, I was partly responsible for the decline of the mass music industry and the huge success of the limited specialist areas where you had just a few stars making millions. Taylor Swift, BTS, so on, going back to Ed Sheeran and Adele and so on, but actually also lots and lots of artists not doing too badly, being able to eke out a living with, I have to say, less than good music. So when you watch the Brits next week, see if you like any of the music or think any of it has any appeal other than to the fans of that artist or that style of music. See you next time around for A Victim Bites Back.